Cletus Cortland Casati is a homicidal serial killer born in a psychiatric prison in New York, whose early life was marked by murder and chaos before bonding with an alien symbiote offspring of Venom. Casati committed multiple murders as a child and adult, including an orphanage arson and pushing a girl into traffic, culminating in a conviction for 11 murders and a sentence of 11 life terms at Rikers Island. While imprisoned, Eddie Brock's Venom symbiote escaped and left behind an offspring. This new symbiote bonded with Casati through a wound, merging with his blood and forming a red and black entity known as Carnage. Casati and the symbiote formed a stronger bond than Venom and Brock, amplifying violence and strength far beyond both Venom and Spider-Man. His rampage included leaving the word Carnage in blood at crime scenes and murdering civilians, prompting a rare alliance between Spider-Man and Venom to subdue him. Casati led a group of killers and monsters in a rampage across Manhattan, directly confronting Spider-Man, Venom, and other heroes. He later fell under the influence of Norman Osborn's Goblin serum as Red Goblin, gaining immunity to symbiote weaknesses while causing new carnage. Casati, embracing the godly power of Null, served as a cult leader known as Dark Carnage. He harvested symbiote codices to free Null, infected surviving symbiotes, and fought Venom during the Absolute Carnage and King in Black events. The Carnage symbiote possesses superhuman strength, shape-shifting tendrils, regenerative healing, and the ability to spawn offspring that infect hosts. Cassidy's worldview is centered on chaos and bloodshed, believing laws are meaningless and taking pleasure in inflicting suffering. Every element of Carnage, from Cassidy's murderous history to the symbiote's alien nature, from major comic arcs to defining abilities, contributes to his status as one of the most violent and unstable antagonists in the Marvel Universe. Bullseye, a psychotic assassin, made his first appearance in Daredevil number 131. Bullseye grew up in a violent household. He later became an expert marksman and began killing for pleasure during a baseball game. Bullseye served as a soldier and special operative for a United States intelligence agency, gaining combat skills and weapon training, including sniper expertise, knife throwing, and hand-to-hand fighting. He entered New York high society as a freelance assassin and extortionist, confronting the masked vigilante Daredevil in early crime schemes. Bullseye developed an obsessive hatred toward Daredevil, targeting his secret identity and loved ones. He kidnapped and killed lawyer Karen Page. He then murdered ninja mercenary Elektra by impaling her with her own sai, a violent act that intensified his conflict with the vigilante. In that same storyline, Bullseye suffered a shattered spine by Daredevil's hand. His bones were later reinforced with adamantium by a Japanese crime lord, enabling him to return to action. During Dark Reign, Bullseye, acting as Hawkeye, kidnapped and strangled Lindy Reynolds, wife of the Sentry, disposing of her body in the ocean while claiming she committed suicide. In the Shadowland storyline, Daredevil killed Bullseye in the same manner Bullseye murdered Elektra, using Bullseye's own weapon in retaliation. Bullseye's skills include unmatched aim and ability to turn everyday objects into deadly projectiles, such as pens, playing cards, glass shards, and even discarded organic materials. His physical training spans boxing, martial arts forms including karate, jujitsu, kali, krav maga, and muay thai, augmenting his lethal weapon use. Bullseye exhibits hallmarks of psychopathy. He experiences no empathy, appears to kill for his own amusement, and has manipulated others and systems to commit mass killings. Bullseye's legacy lies in unerring aim, cold detachment, and brutality toward opponents and civilians. Norman Osborn is a brilliant industrialist and military consultant who becomes the Green Goblin after exposing himself to a Goblin formula chemical. That formula granted him superhuman strength, enhanced intelligence, and agility, but also triggered psychosis, leading to an alternate persona obsessed with power and domination. Osborn's civilian identity, operated Osborn Industries, served as director of Hammer and taught at Empire State University. Osborn learns Spider-Man's secret identity, steals it to terrorize Peter Parker directly, and is seemingly killed by his own glider. Retaining distinct Goblin and Norman personas, Osborn suffered from dissociative episodes and bipolar psychosis. He frequently shifted between a caring father persona and a murderous Goblin persona, especially triggered by stress or reminders of his trauma, highlighting his unstable mental state and chemical dependency. Osborn's psychopathy shows through ruthlessness, disregard for life, and manipulative use of his intelligence and charisma. His untreated bipolar and narcissistic disorders fueled grandiose plans, periodic hallucinations of Goblin personas, and violent behavior across decades. His most violent acts include endangering civilians, bombing public areas, abducting Peter Parker's close contacts, such as Gwen Stacy, whose death he caused, and repeatedly attacking Spider-Man across multiple eras. Osborn's defining traits as a psychopath include extreme intelligence, lack of empathy, violent impulsiveness, and a mind fragmented by chemical addiction and dissociative identity. His evolution from wealthy industrialist to masked maniac encompasses classic villain arcs and complex psychological deterioration. Johann Schmidt took the identity of Red Skull when he first appeared in Captain America Comics #1 as a Nazi super agent leading terror operations under Hydra, an extremist organization rooted in secret science and political power. As a German orphan raised in poverty who later became a bellhop, Schmidt was recruited by Hitler for his cruelty and ambition, executing violent acts like the murder of a shopkeeper's daughter before he gained his signature Red Skull visage. Schmidt first clashed with a patriotic super soldier in World War II-era conflicts, often wielding Hydra's advanced armaments and psychological warfare techniques. He was seemingly buried under rubble and suspended in time, but resurfaced decades later under Hydra's banner to renew his campaign against liberty. During that revival, he stole the Cosmic Cube by controlling its guardian's mind, unleashed a bioweapon in New York, activated sleeper agents, and assembled them into a giant robotic force before being defeated by his old adversary and an allied Winter Soldier. Schmidt demonstrated vast intellect, strategic skill, and battlefield prowess as a marksman, swordsman, and pilot. His tactics included kidnapping political figures, brainwashing agents, using advanced weaponry like Hydra cannons powered by the cube, and conducting sabotage, mass arson, and torture. Johann's psychopathy is reflected in his lack of remorse for orchestrating genocide, psychological manipulation of entire populations, and imposing his supremacist doctrine. He exhibits supreme pride, emotional detachment, and a drive for absolute supremacy through fear and violence. Zebedija Kilgrave began as a Croatian spy sent to infiltrate a chemical facility where he was doused in an experimental nerve agent, turning his skin purple and gaining pheromone-based mind control abilities. These pheromones allow him to compel victims to obey his verbal commands while he is present, forcing crowds or individuals to act against their will. Kilgrave used these powers to rob a bank in New York City by commanding guards, then escaped imprisonment, and built criminal operations in San Francisco before returning to New York. His influence extends over dozens at once, persistent even as pheromone levels fade after his departure. Kilgrave entered into a manipulative relationship with a woman named Melanie in Buffalo, forcing her to marry him and conceiving daughter Kara, who later inherited similar mind control and purple skin and joined Alpha Flight under the name Persuasion. His key adversaries include the blind vigilante Daredevil, who resisted Kilgrave's influence due to impaired sensory input, and Jessica Jones, each resisting via strong will or technological aids. Kilgrave's major storyline involves the abduction and psychological torture of private investigator Jessica Jones, whom he forced into servitude and sexual violence over several months, severely traumatizing her. During the Emperor Doom graphic novel, Kilgrave was captured by a science genius, imprisoned in a psychosis-enhancing device, and used to subdue world leaders and heroes before his death when the device was destroyed by a sea-based superhuman. He later resurfaced in the Raft Maximum Security Penitentiary, where he exploited inmates for a violent uprising before being freed again during a superhuman breach. Kilgrave's capabilities include rapid healing from fatal wounds. His limitations are proximity-based power dependence, vulnerability to strong personal resistance, and loss of effect when victims cannot hear him. His legacy as a Marvel psychopath is centered on his absolute control over others, psychological torment, personal violations, solidifying him among the most disturbing personalities in Marvel narratives. Victor Creed is a mutant born in Canada whose early trauma involved being chained in a cellar by his father, forced to chew off his hand to escape, and killing his father. Creed developed hypersenses, retractable claws, super strength, speed, agility, durability, and an accelerated healing factor, all traits defining his beast-like mutation. Creed debuted in Iron Fist #14 as a killer known as the Slasher, and later became entwined in the Mutant Massacre event, allying with the Marauders to target Morlocks, and battling Wolverine repeatedly. Creed's lethal rivalry with Wolverine traces back to their shared history in Team X and the Weapon X program, with Creed intentionally trying to push Wolverine into embracing his feral nature. Creed thrived on violence and carried out serial murder and terrorism. He killed police officers as a teen, joined clandestine ops groups like Weapon X and Hydra, worked as a mercenary for X-Factor, and infiltrated Hound Program sleeper agent missions, often betraying allies. Creed's combat prowess stems from tactical intelligence, training by the CIA, Weapon X, Hydra, and other covert groups, making him a skilled assassin, tracker, and hand-to-hand fighter. His senses can detect ultraviolet light, infrasonic breathing at distance, and help in nearly silent stalking. Creed's psychopathy shows in sadistic behavior, pride in violence, and disregard for others. Victor Creed's onset of mutation-driven violence, strategic brutality, emotional desertion, and repeated mass murder defines him as a berserk psychopath in Marvel lore. Mary Alice Walker first appeared as Typhoid Mary in Daredevil number 254. Mary is a mutant with dissociative identity disorder, manifesting three distinct personalities: the violent Bloody Mary, the timid Innocent Mary, and the calculating Typhoid Mary. Each persona exhibits different abilities and behaviors. Typhoid Mary's mutant powers include telekinesis, capable of manipulating small objects, pyrokinesis to ignite flames, and minor mind influence. Bloody Mary employs knives and fire, often creating makeshift armor by levitating sharp objects around her. Innocent Mary shows no combat abilities and acts passively. Walker's personalities shift unpredictably, making her behavior erratic and dangerous. Walker first battled Daredevil when crime lord Kingpin employed her to destabilize Matt Murdock. Walker joined a covert government program under Henry Peter Gyrich. Walker served Kingpin as an assassin and manipulator, alternating loyalties depending on her dominant persona. She later worked for Lady Deathstrike's Sisterhood of Mutants and was briefly Black Cat's gang member. Walker's psychopathy is rooted in fractured identity, impulsive violence, emotional disconnection, and obsessive loyalty. Her Bloody Mary persona engages in murder and arson without remorse. Her Typhoid Mary self uses seduction, manipulation, and controlled aggression to fulfill contracts. Walker's mutation-driven powers, split personalities, and lethal actions define her as a high-risk psychopath within Marvel narratives. Professor Miles Warren is introduced in The Amazing Spider-Man number 31 as a genetic researcher at Empire State University who studied under the High Evolutionary and secretly developed a romantic obsession with student Gwen Stacy. When Stacy died at the hands of another villain, Warren blamed Spider-Man and descended into grief-driven obsession. Warren became the Jackal in The Amazing Spider-Man number 129, adopting a green costume with razor gauntlets and martial skills to enact revenge on Spider-Man. He killed his lab assistant Anthony Serba, a trauma that Warren split off onto the Jackal persona to dissociate from his own guilt. As the Jackal, Warren pioneered cloning technology, creating clones of Gwen, Peter Parker, and himself, including Ben Reilly, Scarlet Spider, Kane, and the monstrous Carrion, to torment Spider-Man and destabilize his identity. During the Clone Saga, Warren erased Peter Parker's memory and planted false identity in Ben Reilly, causing Spider-Man's self-doubt and identity crisis. Warren later physically altered himself by splicing Jackal DNA in a regeneration tank, gaining superhuman strength, speed, agility, durability, enhanced senses, and healing, resulting in a humanoid Jackal form. In the Spider Island event, he released a virus via insects to mutate civilians into spider-like beings under his control. Warren's psychopathy is marked by obsessive grief, dissociation, moral detachment, and willingness to kill, clone, or manipulate people. His actions exemplify a violent and remorseless psychopath within Marvel's universe.